Yo, um, this is take three. So, what are we doing today? We're going to be talking about how I lost 15 kgs and see what you can glean from the methods of how I did it. So, basically, what happened, I went from 95 kgs to 79. That's like what, 207, like in pounds, it's like 207 to one. What is it 170 something or like high 160s, something like that. So yeah, I lost quite a bit of weight, and there's a few ways that I did it. So big ones that I'm gonna go through: tracking, cardio, caffeine, water, and gaslighting. Right, these are each of the sections. So tracking. How did I track? Well, how and why? So basically, as everyone, well, at least I hope everyone knows, to lose weight, it's basically calories in, calories out, meaning energy in, energy out, right? The human body runs on energy, and we get energy from the food that we eat. Now, what happens is that if you start eating, so what happens is that the body has a maintenance of weight that it needs, maintenance of calories that it needs to maintain bodily function, right? That's your maintenance calories, the minimum energy that you need to maintain the state that you're in. And what happens is that if you eat above that maintenance, the energy that's not being used for your functions and stuff is just stored for later, right? Because we're humans, we're meant to survive. So, in what happened is that to prepare for famine, basically, if you eat more than you need, your body stores it for later, for when there is famine. And then when you're in a deficit, eating less than you need to survive, basically, instead of just dying, your body starts taking from the reserves that it's stored, right? So the reason why tracking is so important is that a lot of the time we don't really know what we're eating, like how much we're eating. Everyone, if you're like really fat or just like have really bad eating habits, usually a safe bet is just eating healthier, right? Because most healthy foods have less calories than more processed, calorie dense foods. But it is very useful to track for two reasons. One, you have a very like set, you know the number like approximately. It can't be, it isn't like super 100% accurate, but it's accurate enough that you can use it. It's like 90, 80%, right? So you know the numbers that you're working with, and you can make sure that you're in a deficit. That's the most important thing that tracking gives you, the ability to make sure without a doubt that you're in a deficit. That, and then the things that I found helped me with, because after a while of tracking, you kind of have a good idea of how much calories is in the foods that you're eating. You know how much calories is in an egg. You know how much calories is in the kind of tuna that you're eating, and bread and butter, all that. But what it gave me was what's it called, accountability, because now whenever you eat something, you have to put it down. You can't really absent eat anymore, because it forces you to, whenever something goes into your mouth, you have to account for it. So things like, oh, I'm just chilling, and then I'm absently, circling the kitchen. I come back to the kitchen to have, like, if there's, let's just say there's marshmallows in the house, right? I go back, have a marshmallow, and then I move on with my day. Then I come back, have a marshmallow while I'm doing completely something else. And then it's like each marshmallow is like 50, let's just say 20 calories. So if I'm always doing that throughout the day, maybe I have like 100 extra calories that I don't account for, purely because I'm absent eating, right? You can't absent eat when you have to track everything. And then there's also the level of it makes you eat less just by virtue of calories are more on your mind. You're not gonna make decisions purely based off of how you feel, because now you have a direct gauge to kind of weigh how you feel to how it will impact not even just your results, but how it will impact the rest of your day. Because if you know that you have like a set amount of calories, then you'll be able to make the decision. You put in how much, whatever you're going to eat, how many calories that is beforehand, and you can be like, that's not worth, that's not worth me. Whatever this is not worth me not being able to eat for the rest of the day, basically. So tracking, and then also for me personally, I found that having a visual representation of what I'm eating was much more. Uh, it made it much easier for me to not eat more. If I had a visual representation of like the effects of my food. So that's where tracking comes in, and that's why you should track. You know, ways to do that. Me personally, there's like lots of like tracking apps. Some people like to do it manually. Me personally, I just use MyFitnessPal. You make an account, you can track calories there. Or if you really want to do it like more manually, or it's something specific, you can always search on Google. That's sometimes I search on Google specific calories for things. I know a few restaurants and like food chains have the calories. Like you can check them up on the websites, how much calories are supposed to be in foods. So yeah, that's calorie tracking. Let's move on to the next one. Cardio. Cardio is immaculate. I would say outside of tracking, it's on the higher side of results, W results. So cardio, obviously, as I explained before, calories in, calories out, right? Now, with the tracking portion, you're controlling the calories in. With the cardio, it's now about the calories out. Basically, it makes you move more, right? If you move more, you burn more energy. I personally recommend zone 2 steady state cardio. Some people like HIIT cardio, some people like I don't really do HIIT. I don't co-sign HIIT cardio if your goal is to lose weight, purely because there's much more fatigue involved with HIIT cardio. A lot of HIIT cardio can sometimes be pretty impact intensive, which isn't good like long run. And there's just a level of, if something's too difficult, especially if you don't work out in general, if you start off too hard, then your drop off rate will be much higher. So I don't really recommend it. I recommend something chill, 130, 140 heart rate, whether that's be walking fast, walking uphill is very good. I enjoy walking uphill or riding on the bike, like the stationary bike. I know at some point I was doing skipping. Skipping's also fine. Well, it's a bit more high impact, but like in terms of cardio, I would say the best like tip for what if you're picking cardio is to just pick the one that you have fun doing, right? Because in terms of getting results, the best thing that you can do for your results, regardless of, don't worry about type, don't worry about, this diet, this diet, that, this exercise, this exercise, that. Whatever exercise, whatever form of cardio you enjoy is one that you'll keep on doing. So when you're picking it, pick one that you'll keep on doing. If you don't like running, don't run, walk. If you don't like walking, get on the bike. If you don't like the bike, get on the skipping ropes. If you don't like the skipping ropes, jump in the pool. If you don't like that, play a sport. Play soccer, play rugby, play, I don't know. I ran out of sports. I didn't really play a lot. But yeah, pick a sport. Pick something that you enjoy. Maybe you enjoy taking hikes. That's fine. Do that, So I just recommend adding in cardio. It's very good for the weight loss process because it gives you one of two avenues. Either you're just in a bigger deficit without having to eat less, or let you eat more. So if you want to keep the same deficit, you can just add in cardio and it can give you some more like wiggle room if you're like someone who enjoys eating a bit more. And it's very good for your health as well. Caffeine. Caffeine, caffeine, caffeine. Caffeine is great. I found out very recently. I was doing an assignment and I stayed completely awake until 6 in the morning. I didn't even start feeling, I only started like yawning at 6. So caffeine's great. Stimulant, but also, I recently found out, not too recently, but I found out caffeine is a appetite suppressant. So a lot of people already drink caffeine, but if you're not one of those people and you're looking for a way to make the weight loss slightly easier, then I would recommend starting to include caffeine into your rotation. Not only for the stimulant benefits, but also for the appetite suppressant. Obviously, it makes you want to eat less. And caffeine ain't is not even like crazy high in calories. You don't even need anything crazy because you can just focus on like shots. If you're not trying to like drink a lot, if caffeine drinking caffeine's a bit too much, like I don't know, drinking the whole coffee. I don't know, bro. Some people are weird. Then you can just have shots of espresso. But yeah, caffeine's a good one for sure. In terms of suppressing the appetite. And because it's a stimulant, obviously it makes you more jittery and stuff, and twitching and moving a bit more. Funnily enough, who would have guessed, also contributes to you being in more of a deficit because basically your resting rate is determined by how many calories you burn just existing. And if you're more twitchy, your resting calorie burn is more because when you're resting, you're moving around more. You're what's it called, tapping your feet. Maybe you move your hands a bit more, something like all that stuff. Caffeine, um, water. Water is a big one. For a few reasons, I love water. Okay, water is it's good for helping you diet. It's good for health. It's even good for your skin. So basically, the big point about water is that if you drink enough water, even a lot of water, it'll basically fill up your stomach, right? So you more full basically, and so it makes you less hungry. Cool thing to do with water is that if you drink water while eating the food, it'll make you feel more full from the food without adding in any more calories because obviously the water is filling you up and the food's going in and stuff. So water's great for that. It's great for the skin. It helps with the oil balance in your body. Though, like something that I learned, and I've been using it to help me clear my skin, is that one of the things that cause you to have breakouts and stuff is basically the oil to water balance within your body, right? More importantly, within your face, the oil to water balance. So it basically works on a ratio, and if it tips too much in favor of the oil, then you get a breakout. And one of the ways, it's why drinking more water helps, because if you drink more water, then obviously the balance shifts more into the water, and then you'll be like neutral, and you won't, you know, be on the side of water. I mean of oil. So yeah, drink your water, and it's good in general. Recommended amount is like 2.5 liters, but like you're probably a dude. Most dudes. I don't know. Maybe this is like some crazy woman dominated channel, but like as a guy, I think 4 liters is a good amount. Good for skin, good for general health. Me personally, I like to push it to 6, but that's just me. Don't listen. Don't like use me as a gauge. Because one, my skin is particularly oily, and two, yeah, I'm just a bad gauge. Like, cause the thing is, I like to like go on the extreme. So the second I found out it was good for my skin, I was like, yo, how much water can I drink without dying, right? Well, before I get like water intoxication, and I saw on the internet, it was like, oh yeah, it's like 10 liters, and then you get intoxication. So then I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I can push it up to 6 anymore, and it's like if I'm, because this is like 6 in terms of tracked. If I'm drinking a bit more, like at the gym, I don't really track the bottle that I take to the gym and stuff. So I left leeway there. But don't use me as an example. In this specific like case of how much water I'm drinking, stick to 4. You'll be fine. Don't use me as an example. That one I'm not doing for health. I'm just doing because I noticed that my skin is clearer, at least at the time. You know, because I went through a few months of doing that. Alright, and the last one, and it's on the more important side as well, gaslighting. Now you might be like, oh, Kumbi, what do you mean? What do you mean by gaslighting? Well, by gaslighting, I don't mean, gaslighting your girlfriend or something to be like, yeah, I was never fat. No, I mean gaslighting yourself. It's basically affirmation, if you will, and it's something that I used to do during the more tougher periods of the phase, like when I was starting to feel more hungry. I'd basically gaslight myself to think that, well, see it as a good thing. So like when I'd feel my stomach grumble, I faked myself into being like, that's me eating the fat, my body eating the fat cells instead of the calories that it would have. And also like I made a particular effort that every time I felt my stomach grumbling, I'd think of myself shredded, and it would basically I'd relate the idea of hunger to me being the leanness that I wanted to achieve. So every time I felt that, I would think of me being shredded, and I'd also be start scrolling on TikTok and stuff, to look at other dudes that are where I want to be. So I just basically gaslighting myself into being like the hunger is a good thing because the hunger means that what I'm doing the right thing basically. It means that I'm in the deficit that I want. But yeah, I think that's about all in terms of the things that got me to lose 5 kgs in a more broad sense. Obviously, there'll be more videos on more specifics, meal plans, which are pretty vague, but meal plans, tips, mistakes that I made, and all that. So if you're interested in that, click the like, subscribe, share button, leave a comment down below about something, and thanks for watching the video. Peace.